The paper that changed everything. Marcus Wellington had always believed that fortunes were built on careful planning, strategic thinking, and an unwavering confidence in one's own abilities. For 15 years, he had been the master of his domain, a self-made billionaire who had turned a small tech startup into a global empire. His offices occupied 3 floors of a gleaming downtown skyscraper, and his name appeared regularly in business magazines alongside words like billionaire and unstoppable. But on this particular Tuesday morning, Marcus sat frozen at his desk, staring at multiple screens that all told the same devastating story. Great numbers cascaded down every monitor like digital rain, each one representing another $1 million vanishing into the void. The trading algorithms he had trusted, the investment strategies he had championed, the leveraged positions he had assured his board were foolproof, all of it was collapsing in real time. The market had turned against him overnight. A perfect storm of circumstances that no one could have predicted had created a chain reaction, and Marcus's highly leveraged portfolio was caught directly in its path. By the time the opening bell rang, his net worth had plummeted from billions to mere millions. By noon, even those millions were gone. By 3 o'clock, he was looking at debt that would take lifetimes to repay. Marcus loosened his tie and leaned back in his chair, feeling as if he were watching someone else's life fall apart. This couldn't be happening. Not to him. Not after everything he had built, everything he had sacrificed. He thought of his ex-wife, who had warned him about taking on too much risk. He thought of his father, who had died before seeing Marcus's greatest successes. He thought of the hundreds of employees who depended on him, who would soon be without jobs. The office grew quiet as word spread through the building. People who had smiled and nodded at him that morning now avoided eye contact in the hallways. His phone, usually buzzing with calls and messages, had gone eerily silent. In the world of high finance, failure was contagious, and no one wanted to catch what Marcus had. As evening approached, the building began to empty. Marcus remained at his desk, unable to move, unable to think clearly about what came next. The sun set behind the city skyline, painting his office in shades of orange and purple, and still he sat there, watching the screens that now showed flat lines where mountains of wealth had once stood. Around 8 o'clock, he heard the gentle sound of a cleaning cart rolling down the hallway. The overnight janitorial staff had arrived, the people who kept these temples of commerce spotless while the dealmakers slept. Marcus barely registered the sound until a soft knock came at his door. "Excuse me, sir?" Marcus looked up to see a young woman in a light blue janitorial uniform standing in his doorway. She had blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail and wore bright yellow cleaning gloves. She held a cloth in one hand, and she looked at him with an expression that wasn't quite pity, but something gentler, understanding, perhaps, or simple human kindness. "I can come back later if you're still working," she said quietly. Marcus shook his head. "No, it's fine. I'm not working. I'm not sure what I'm doing, actually." The young woman hesitated, then stepped into the office. Her name tag read Emma. She had been cleaning these offices for 2 years, Marcus realized, though he had never really noticed her before. How many times had she emptied his trash, dusted his shelves, vacuumed his floors while he was too busy building his empire to acknowledge her presence? "I heard about what happened," Emma said gently. "I'm sorry. That must be really hard." Marcus let out a bitter laugh. "Hard doesn't begin to cover it. Everything I built is gone. 15 years of work, vanished in a single day." Emma moved around the office, straightening papers, wiping down surfaces. Marcus found her presence oddly comforting, the quiet efficiency of her movements a stark contrast to the chaos that had consumed his day. "You know," Emma said after a moment, "my father lost his business when I was 12. He was a contractor, had his own company. One bad project, one lawsuit, and everything disappeared." She paused, picking up a stack of documents from the corner of his desk. He thought his life was over. Marcus looked at her with tired eyes. "What did he do?" "He started over," Emma said simply. "Smaller this time. Smarter. He learned that sometimes losing everything is the only way to see what really matters." She glanced at the documents in her hand, then froze. Sir. This paper here, it was on the floor behind your desk. You might want to look at it. She held out a single sheet of paper, slightly crumpled. Marcus took it from her, squinting at it in the dim office light. At first, it seemed like just another piece of corporate paperwork, something he had probably dropped during the chaos of the day. But as he read it more carefully, his heart began to pound. It was a transfer document from 3 months ago, a side investment he had made almost as an afterthought. A small clean energy startup that some young entrepreneurs had pitched to him over lunch. He had invested not because he expected major returns, but because he had genuinely believed in their vision. He had been so busy with his main portfolio that he had completely forgotten about it. The document showed that the investment had been placed in a separate trust, isolated from all his other holdings. It wasn't affected by the collapse. And according to the notes, that little company had just been acquired by a major corporation. The value had multiplied tenfold. Marcus looked up at Emma, his hands trembling slightly. This investment, it's still intact. It's worth, he did the calculation quickly. It's worth enough to pay off the debt and have a fresh start. Emma smiled, a small, knowing smile. Sometimes the things we forget about are the things that save us. Marcus stood up slowly, feeling as if he were waking from a nightmare. The money from this one investment wouldn't make him a billionaire again, but it would give him breathing room. A chance to rebuild. An opportunity to do things differently this time. Emma, he said, his voice thick with emotion, how did you see this? He had probably walked past it a dozen times. She shrugged, beginning to push her cleaning cart toward the door. I spend my nights looking at what people overlook. You'd be surprised what you can find when you pay attention to the small things. As she reached the doorway, Marcus called out to her. Thank you. Really? You have no idea what you just did. Emma turned back, her expression worn. I think I do, sir. Sometimes we all need someone to point out what we've missed. That's how my dad got through his hard times, people helping him see opportunities he was too hurt to notice. After she left, Marcus sat back down at his desk, but this time with a different feeling in his chest. Not the crushing weight of failure, but something lighter. Hope, maybe. Or perspective. He looked at the paper in his hands, this forgotten investment that represented not just money, but a reminder of who he had been when he invested in it, someone who believed in ideas, in people, in possibilities beyond just profits. He thought about Emma's father, starting over after losing everything. He thought about Emma herself, finding meaning and dignity in work that most people in his world never even noticed. And he realized that his fortune hadn't been lost overnight. His fortune had been there all along, in the chances he took on things he believed in the small kindnesses of strangers, in the possibility that failure was not an ending but a beginning. Marcus picked up his phone and started making calls. Not to his investors or his lawyers, but to the young entrepreneurs behind that clean energy company. If he was starting over, he would do it right this time. Smaller, yes. But smarter. And with his eyes open to all the things he had missed while he was too busy counting his billions. The office was quiet now except for the distant sound of Emma's cleaning cart moving down the hall. Marcus smiled, folded the paper carefully, and slipped it into his jacket pocket. Tomorrow he would begin again. But tonight, he was grateful, for the paper, for the janitor who found it, and for the painful reminder that true fortune is often found in the places we least expect, by the people we too easily overlook.